Ooh. So could mean that guys like Lawrence Okoli, and especially if it's your right eye, if Jake's getting hit in his right eye, that usually would mean that he's getting jabbed, because that jab in orthodox would come out from the left hand on the right eye side.
And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't.
In a surprising turn during his training camp, Jake Paul's face showed the harsh reality of boxing. He recently revealed a badly bruised and swollen eye, admitting he was knocked out in the ring. The culprit? His heavyweight sparring partner, Lawrence Okoli. This shocking moment happened as Paul was preparing for the biggest challenge of his career, a fight against the formidable former champion, Anthony Joshua.
Keep it going. Way too long. Good round, Jake. Like that.
In a revealing look at Jake Paul's training camp, reporter Joey Knight noted that Paul has been sparring with elite heavyweights like Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson. The intensity was written all over Paul's body, in the form of fresh bruises and marks from punishing sessions. Knight called it Paul's toughest week yet, explaining that the sheer power and skill of these world-class partners caused clear, significant damage. These visible wounds highlight a brutal truth. Preparing for a powerhouse like Anthony Joshua demands a level of punishment Paul has likely never faced before. Knight's observations underscore that even controlled sparring with top-tier heavyweights comes with a steep physical cost, testing Paul's readiness and resilience like never before.
Ranked Lawrence Okoli. That is who Jake Paul has been sparring with over these past few weeks.
Trouble finding Hussein Mohammed early on.
And a lot of you guys will know this because Jake Paul showed the bruises and marks on his face and said that it was Lawrence Okoli that had done that. And faces don't necessarily tell you how a spar went. Some guy can have blood all over him, he can have a busted up nose, but he still won the rounds in sparring. But I can only imagine that this week has been a very, very humbling experience for Jake Paul. In fact, the past few weeks will have been eye-opening for Jake Paul. A past few weeks where he has sparred the likes of Lawrence Okoli, of Jared Anderson, and of Frank Sanchez as well. And being that I have seen Jake Paul go life and death with Tommy Fury, you can guarantee you that Okoli, that Anderson, and that Frank Sanchez have basically manhandled Jake Paul in there. And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't, because then I remember the 70-odd million that he's reported to be earning at the end of this fight. But you can't deny, right, that in a world where these almost fantasy fights and whatnot are making such a shitload of cash, that Jake Paul's probably being paid in line for this fight, actually. And the reason I say he's being paid in line is because I really don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going with my prediction for this fight. And that is obviously, no, in fact, drum roll, please. AJ via knockout, obviously, technical knockout, if Jake gets
Jake Paul's choice to train with elite heavyweights has sparked intense debate among boxing experts and fans. While he has made a name for himself by facing notable fighters, his preparation for Anthony Joshua is revealing the staggering scale of the challenge ahead. Recent training footage shows Paul absorbing brutal power from seasoned sparring partners, a level of force that has exposed defensive flaws largely unseen in his previous fights. Respected analyst Wade has been particularly pointed, noting these sessions reveal a massive vulnerability in Paul's game. Reports that Paul was even knocked out in practice suggest he is struggling to cope with the raw strength of true heavyweight boxers. This gap between Paul's confidence and his apparent difficulty in sparring raises serious questions. Is he truly ready to step into the ring with a former heavyweight champion like Anthony Joshua?
Question is, which one of those two things is happening? And question is, how is it going down? Because what we know about Anthony Joshua is that he has a nasty lead hook, and he's going to have a reach advantage on Jake, just like Lawrence Okoli does in the gym, which is why Jake has brought him in. So that jab's going to be effective. That lead hand of AJ is going to be effective. How does Jake maneuver around that? And again, you can look at this a couple of ways. One, okay, you get hit with it in camp, so you don't get hit with it in the fight, which is why you bring these heavyweights in. It's why you bring Jared Anderson Lawrence Okolie, Frank Sanchez in, or 2, there's a massive flaw in what Jake's doing that he's continually getting hit with this, and the indication that he's getting hit by Okolie means he's going to get hit the same way with Anthony Joshua. I tend to believe a little bit of both, right? You do this so that it doesn't happen, but also how much can Jake really learn and to avoid something that's coming out with the jab or with the lead hook, or just, again, the distance control and the range of a guy like Okolie and a guy like AJ. That
Video from Jake Paul's sparring sessions paints a telling picture. He has been repeatedly caught on the chin by heavyweight partners, the physical toll marked clearly by fresh bruises. The intensity of training with fighters like Lawrence Okolie is a league beyond anything Paul has faced before. Analysts observe that the sheer combination of power, size, and skill from these elite sparring partners is exposing real weaknesses in his defense and his ability to withstand sustained pressure.